Microsoft just keeps losing with AI. Like, why would I need Copilot to change my resolution? Does everything on GitHub have to be Copilot? An agentic OS, what is that?
Something catastrophic just happened inside Microsoft, and the data that leaked last week changes everything we thought we knew about Windows. February 2026. Windows 11 adoption sits at 52%, barely moved in 3 months. Microsoft had projected 75% by now. They missed by 23 percentage points. But that stagnation isn't what's causing panic in Redmond. Here's what's actually happening. Windows 10 installations are still active on 380 million machines, 15 months after support officially ended. People aren't just refusing to upgrade. They're paying Microsoft $30 per year for extended security updates rather than move to Windows 11. They're literally choosing to pay extra to avoid the new operating system. And the migration to alternatives is accelerating beyond predictions. Linux desktop usage hit 8.3% in January 2026, up from 4.2% in January 2025. That's a 97% increase in 12 months. Mac Enterprise deployments up 71% year over year. Chromebook business shipments up 143%. This isn't slow adoption. This is systematic rejection. And according to leaked internal documents from a February 5th executive meeting, Satya Nadella told the Windows leadership team they have until Q3 2026 to reverse the trend or face a fundamental restructuring of the entire division. By the end of this breakdown, you'll understand why the world's most profitable operating system is hemorrhaging users, why enterprises are abandoning Microsoft after decades of loyalty, and why the company's own strategy made this collapse inevitable. The enterprise exodus became undeniable in January 2026. Internal Microsoft sales data leaked to Bloomberg showed something unprecedented. Fortune 500 renewals for Windows Enterprise licenses dropped 18% quarter over quarter. 18%. Companies aren't just delaying upgrades, they're actively reducing their Windows footprint. Contract negotiations that used to be automatic renewals are now becoming competitive bids where Linux and Mac options are seriously evaluated. Jennifer Martinez runs infrastructure for a multinational law firm with 3,200 employees across 12 countries. They completed their Windows 11 rollout in September 2025. Seemed like the responsible decision: stay current, stay compliant, stay secure. By December, she was tracking a productivity crisis. Help desk tickets up 340% compared to the Windows 10 baseline. Application compatibility issues affecting 23% of users. VPN client failures requiring manual IT intervention. The forced Microsoft account integration breaking their carefully designed security architecture. And Copilot interruptions disrupting billable work across every practice group. She ran a comprehensive cost analysis in January 2026. The Windows 11 migration had cost the firm $4.7 million in lost productivity, IT support overhead, and emergency software updates. That's not counting the hardware replacements they were forced to make for machines that didn't meet arbitrary TPM requirements. She presented the findings to the executive committee. They authorized a pilot program: 500 workstations migrating to Ubuntu with Windows virtual machines for the few applications that absolutely require it. The pilot launched February 1st. If successful, they'll migrate all 3,200 seats by end of year. Microsoft is about to lose a client that's been paying them for 28 consecutive years.
And Jennifer's firm isn't an outlier. Survey data from Gartner released January 28, 2026 shows 41% of enterprise IT decision-makers are actively evaluating alternatives to Windows. 41%. That's not considering alternatives. That's active evaluation with budget allocation and pilot programs. This has never happened before. Windows was the foundation, the assumption, the the default that never needed justification. That default is breaking. So what's driving this unprecedented rejection? Let's talk about what changed in the last 6 months. December 2025, Microsoft pushed a mandatory update that broke printing functionality for 2.3 million enterprise users. Took them 11 days to issue a fix. 11 days where businesses couldn't print contracts, invoices, legal documents, or shipping labels. The financial impact was catastrophic for small businesses. One logistics company in Ohio calculated they lost $127,000 in delayed shipments because they couldn't print waybills. January 2026, Microsoft announced Copilot Pro features would now require a Microsoft 365 subscription, even for users who already paid for Windows 11 Pro. Features that were included 6 months ago now cost an additional $20 per user per month. Enterprises that budgeted for Windows 11 deployment suddenly faced unexpected recurring costs. CFOs started asking why they're paying subscription fees for an operating system when alternatives exist that don't require monthly payments. But the performance problems are what's pushing technical users over the edge. New benchmarks published by Puget Systems on January 15, 2026 show Windows 11 build 26052 is measurably slower than Windows 10 in professional workloads. Video encoding and Handbrake is 11% slower. Blender rendering is 9% slower. Photoshop batch processing is 14% slower. These aren't marginal differences, these are productivity killers. Christina Park runs a visual effects studio in Los Angeles with 85 workstations. They render film-quality CGI for streaming shows. Render time directly translates to how many projects they can deliver. Every percentage point of performance matters. She upgraded their render farm to Windows 11 in October 2025 because Microsoft said it was optimized for modern hardware. Their render times immediately increased by an average of 8.7%. On a typical project, that's an extra 6 hours of rendering. Across their entire workload, that's losing the equivalent of 4 full workstations worth of capacity. She spent 3 weeks optimizing, disabled every unnecessary Windows service, killed background telemetry, removed Copilot, uninstalled widgets, got the performance penalty down to 5.2%. Still worse than Windows 10. She's migrating the entire studio to Rocky Linux. Same hardware, same Blender version, renders are completing 3% faster than they did on Windows 10. Microsoft lost an 85-seat professional workstation deployment because their operating system is objectively slower at the work people actually do. The data science community is abandoning Windows even faster. Stack Overflow's January 2026 developer survey shows Windows usage among professional developers dropped to 35.8%. Down from 42.1% just 6 months ago. Linux jumped to 31.4%, Mac to 32.8%. For the first time in history, Windows is not the majority platform among professional developers. That's the leading indicator that terrifies Microsoft. Developers build tomorrow's applications. If they're not using Windows, they won't optimize for Windows.
Dr. Marcus Chen runs a machine learning research group at MIT. They train large language models and computer vision systems. Training time is everything. A model that takes 10 hours to train versus 12 hours means they can run 20% more experiments. That's the difference between publishing first or publishing second in competitive academic research. They upgraded to Windows 11 in November 2025 because Microsoft partnered with NVIDIA and claimed AI workloads would run faster. The opposite happened. Their training runs slowed down by 13%. Same hardware, same CUDA configuration, same model architectures, just Windows 11. They tried everything, disabled every Windows feature, ran performance monitoring tools, found that Windows 11 was using 22% more system RAM for background processes than Windows 10. That's RAM that should be allocated to training data. They migrated to Ubuntu in December. Training times improved by 7% compared to their Windows 10 baseline. Microsoft lost one of the premier AI research labs in the world because Windows 11 is fundamentally worse at AI workloads, despite all their marketing claiming the opposite. Then there's what Microsoft did to privacy in the January 2026 update. They enabled recall by default for all Copilot Plus PCs. No notification, no consent dialog, just silently activated. Users started noticing their hard drives filling up with screenshot databases they never authorized. Security researchers found the encryption was bypassable with a simple Python script. Every password, every private message, every confidential document sitting in a database that malware can access. The backlash was immediate. Germany's Federal Office for Information Security issued a warning on January 22nd, advising German companies not to deploy Windows 11 with recall enabled. France's Data Protection Authority opened an investigation. The EU is now considering whether recall violates GDPR. Microsoft's response was a blog post saying recall is secure and privacy-focused. Nobody believes them anymore. Sarah Thompson is a freelance journalist in Toronto covering healthcare policy. She handles confidential source communications, patient data, leaked documents. Her entire career depends on source protection. She discovered recall was active on her laptop on January 18th, realized it had been screenshotting her Signal conversations with sources for 3 weeks. She has no way to know if that data is truly deleted or if it's sitting somewhere recoverable. She wiped the machine, installed Fedora Linux. Microsoft lost a user because they violated her trust and put her sources at risk. The forced Microsoft account requirement keeps getting worse. The January 2026 update removed another workaround that let users create local accounts during installation. Now, even Windows 11 Pro requires a Microsoft account and internet connection to complete setup. Enterprises that need offline deployment are blocked. Secure facilities that prohibit internet-connected systems during installation are blocked. Microsoft is forcing cloud dependency even when it makes no technical sense. David Kim manages IT for a defense contractor with classified systems. They work on projects that cannot connect to the internet during initial configuration for security reasons. Windows 11's mandatory online account requirement makes it impossible to deploy on their classified network. They're not migrating to Windows 11, they're migrating to Red Hat Enterprise Linux. Microsoft just lost defense industry contracts because they prioritized cloud lock-in over actual security requirements.
The subscription future is now confirmed. Leaked internal roadmap from Microsoft published by The Verge on February 3, 2026 shows Windows 12 will launch in 2027 with a mandatory subscription tier system. Free tier with ads and feature limitations, premium tier at $6.99 monthly for consumers, $11.99 for professionals. Stop paying and Windows drops to a limited mode or stops working entirely. You won't own your operating system, you'll rent it forever. The response from IT professionals has been uniformly negative. A poll of 8,400 IT decision-makers conducted by Spiceworks between January 20th and February 5th found 67% would not accept a subscription-based Windows. 67% outright rejection before it even launches. Another 21% said maybe with significant concerns. Only 12% said they'd accept it. Microsoft is planning to force a business model that 2/3 of their enterprise customers have already rejected. The trend lines are now clear and accelerating. Windows market share dropped to 61.2% in January 2026, first time below 65% since 1995. Linux at 8.3%, Mac at 20.1%, Chrome OS at 6.8%, others at 3.6%. Windows is losing approximately 1 percentage point per month. If that continues, Windows drops below 50% market share by early 2028. That's when the network effects reverse, when Windows stops being the default, when it becomes just another option, when the monopoly ends. Microsoft knows this. The leaked executive meeting notes from February 5th show Nadella acknowledging the crisis. Quote, "We have fundamentally broken trust with our user base. Windows 10 users would rather pay us to not upgrade than use Windows 11 for free. That should terrify everyone in this room." End quote. But the proposed solutions aren't fixing the problems. They're doubling down.
More AI integration, deeper Copilot embedding, stronger cloud requirements, higher subscription dependencies. Everything users are already rejecting, Microsoft plans to push harder. This is what happens when you optimize for shareholders instead of users. Microsoft stopped building Windows for the people using it, started building it for quarterly earnings calls, subscription revenue targets, AI investment justification, cloud adoption metrics. Users became data sources to monetize, not customers to serve. Every decision serves Microsoft's business model at the expense of user experience. Forced hardware upgrades drive partner PC sales. Mandatory accounts drive cloud adoption. Recall justifies AI spending. Subscriptions create recurring revenue. Nothing exists to make computing better. Everything exists to extract more money. Users understand this now. They know when software works for them versus works against them, when an operating system spies on them, advertises to them, forces subscriptions, demands constant internet, performs worse than the version from 2015, they recognize it, and they're leaving. If this opened your eyes to why Windows is collapsing in real time, share it. Microsoft won't tell you their market share is in freefall, won't admit developers are abandoning the platform, won't acknowledge the enterprise exodus, but it's happening, documented, measurable, accelerating. Subscribe for what happens when Windows drops below 50% market share, because at current trends, that's 24 months away. The monopoly is ending, the platform is dying, and Microsoft did it themselves, through greed, arrogance, and fundamental contempt for the people who made them dominant. The collapse is no longer theoretical, it's here.